You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. And my feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Call Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me tonight is the lovely Techie Joe. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you this evening?
Doing well, enjoying my Poly Valentine's Day.
All right. Is there a reason I'm in your seat?
Yeah, because you just came in before me.
Thank you. It was weird. It was weird. I was messed up. It was weird.
We hear about weird all the time.
All right. Hey, Brenda.
How are you? All right, where do we want to start with?
Oh, let's just go in order you gave them to me.
All right.
I don't think it gets better or worse if we do them in a different order.
No, probably not. Did they fix this biographical?
Do what?
Yeah. One of their stories is tied to another story.
Oh.
If it's tied to a biographical.
Mm.
Well, Tennessee congressman apparently was mistaken on how you get a college degree.
Or what college degree he had, I do believe is the case. So from the AP, Tennessee U.S. Rep. Andy Ogles says he was, quote, mistaken when he said he graduated with an international relations degree after a local news outlet raised questions over whether the Republican had embellished his education. Ogles said this week he wasn't made aware of the mistake until he requested his transcript from Middle Tennessee State University to verify his degree. Quote, when I pulled my transcript to verify, I realized I was mistaken. My degree is in liberal studies. I apologize for my misstatement, end quote, Ogles said in a statement released Sunday. Earlier this month, Nashville-based WTVF-TV reported that Ogles has also called himself a, quote, economist, even though he only took one community college economics course. The station then raised questions over Ogles' claims that he has law enforcement experience and handled, quote, international sex crimes. When asked directly by WWTN's Dan Mandis on February 21st, if the congressman had embellished his resume, Ogles said that people should, quote, look at the body of someone's work to determine if he's an economist. I had the privilege in my career. I've spent the last decade working on economic policy and tax policy, so you decide. At the end of the day, I don't care, he said. Ogles then clarified that he was reserve deputy for a local law enforcement agency, which overlapped with his time working for Abolish International, a Nashville-based nonprofit that combats sex trafficking. Maybe I created some of the confusion, or maybe it was someone looking to write a story, Ogles said. Ogles' statement released Sunday only addressed his college education, which he said he had to drop out of MTSU to help his family, quote, during a difficult time. He later returned as a non-traditional student and completed his remaining courses online. At the time, it was my understanding I had completed my course of study in political science and international relations, Ogles said. Last week, I requested an official copy of my transcript and learned that I was actually awarded a broader degree in liberal studies with minors in political science and English. The controversy comes after U.S. Rep. George Santos of New York has faced numerous calls for his resignation after acknowledging he fabricated and at times lied about parts of his education, work experience, and even his family's own religion and history. Ogles, a former rural county mayor, won the Nashville-based congressional seat last year after largely avoiding the public spotlight and refusing to debate his Democratic opponent. The strategy was successful largely due to the GOP-led redistricting process, which carved Nashville's congressional seat into 3 districts. Doing so provided enough cushion for a Republican to win.
So now we have 2 college dropouts in Congress that do not either have the degree they have,
or said they had. And I'm sorry, that's kind of hard. How do you not know what degree you got?
Exactly. Now, I
Like
can
that.
see congressionally mixing up master in metaphysics and master in metaphysical sciences. That I could see.
That's marginal. That's a marginal swap up. But I'm sitting here going, I knew exactly what degree I received.
I knew what degree you received, and I wasn't even there.
Well, yeah, but I know this by heart. It's a bachelor's of science in information systems and operations management with a concentration in information systems. Don't believe me? I'll pull it off the wall.
Right.
Like, fuck it. I'll pull it off the wall.
Okay. Hi, Devin. How are you? Coffee's on the right, dirty chai's on the left.
Oh. Like, hi. There it is.
There you go. Beautiful
Yeah.
degree. Nicely framed in a gorgeous frame that will not take out monitors. That should not be left near our computer monitors after its former frame.
Yeah, I know. But no, like, I know what degree I have. How do people get a degree and not know what it's in? Like, how do you, like, I mean, did you just keep taking credits until someone said you've run out of financial aid, you have to graduate with something, let me see what I can do?
I don't know.
Because that's what a liberal studies degree with, let's see.
Isn't that like a regional, or a regions, or a Reagan degree?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So liberal studies with minors in political science and English.
Right.
So basically, he took enough poli-sci and English classes to get a minor in both of those subjects.
So you take one class and you got a minor in Russian lit. Okay. Like this.
Yeah, literally, I took enough Russian lit classes in college. I take one more class, I could have gotten a minor.
Oh,
like
you need more than a day off to do taxes, Devin. You need like 2 bottles of wine. But, and by the way, what you drinking, guys? What's on your table?
Yeah. Oh, and Brenda's pointing out, oh yeah, those degrees are so close together.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I could almost get away with saying, well, I have a degree in operations management. Like, I would be closer to being right when saying that than he is on, like, what he's claimed.
Right. Or
because
I can understand some things. Okay. Especially within my, fuck it, I got 13 fucking pieces of paper to hang on the wall behind me once I find the ones that'll fit up there. And then I have a really big one that the only thing left to do is to order it. And that's my doctorate. But when looking at it overall, it's like, dude, you lied. You fucking lied. You're sitting here fighting because of student loans, and you can't even tell us the degree your privileged ass got.
Well, I don't know how privileged I'm going to call that. Middle Tennessee State University. I'm sorry, that just sounds like a drinking college to me. No offense, Middle Tennessee State University. But I've generally found the longer the school name, the less likely it is. It's a very rigorous program. Especially when they're handing out liberal studies degrees.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, the longer the name, usually the crappier the program. Like, general rule of thumb, not that there aren't exceptions. There are some long ass name schools.
Oh, I don't know. In-state is $10,000 a year. Out-of-state is $29,000 a year.
Oh, good Lord. In this day and age?
In this day and age.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be rude. Like all college work is hard, all college is expensive, and I'm not saying 10,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying in terms of college education today,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry, that's closer in line with what I was spending 20 some years ago
Mm-hmm.
for my degree.
That's about a quarter of what I spent on my psychic one.
Yeah. Well, but you were saying per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
saying, the master in metaphysics was $22,000 alone.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious,
can we get a
how
verified transcript of your bullshit, dude? Is where I'm at with it.
Yeah, why don't you give us that?
You basically lied on your application to work for the American people of Tennessee. I know if I do not state my degrees properly, I would get fired.
Mm-hmm. All right, so according to U.S. News, okay, so it's number 299 in national universities, and that is a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, it's $9,592 for in-state tuition and fees. They have an undergraduate enrollment of 20,857 students. They have a 68% acceptance rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are number 299 in national universities, number 82 in top performers on social mobility, and number 156 in top public schools. Let's see. So their SAT range is 1010 to 1210. Their ACT range is between 19 and 26.
Mm-hmm.
And their average high school GPA is 3.6.
Again, dude need to, pack it in, and he lied it up.
They have a 35% four-year graduation rate, a 16-to-1 student-faculty ratio,
Uh-huh.
and 53% of their classes have fewer than 20 students.
Insane.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, their top popular majors are multi-interdisciplinary studies other. That is 6% of their graduates.
Underwater basket weaving.
General psychology, 6%. Biology, biological sciences, general, 4%. Business administration and management, general, 4%. Aeronautics, aviation, aerospace, science, and technology, general, 4%.
That's a lot of generals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a stepping stone school.
Hey, I'll give them credit. They have a 35% minority enrollment, though 65% of their students are white. Oh.
Point being is he's lying.
Oh, see, here it is. They have 77 plus sports teams, 15 fraternities, and 10 sororities.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most students have a whopping $24,165 in debt at graduation. Oh. Well, here's a 2-star review. Yeah, from 4 years ago. Mediocre school. There are some good instructors and a couple of good programs. Otherwise, save your money and go to community college. And Murfreesboro, Tennessee, is not a very exciting city, but at least it's near Nashville.
Right.
All righty. So basically, it's the knockoff school one town over.
Yeah. All righty. So there's that. Let's go California. How's the snow weather for you?
White California wearies of snowstorms. Northeast greets one. So Jennifer Cobb and her husband planned on staying 4 days in their vacation rental in Southern California's San Bernardino Mountains, but that stretched into a week as they were trapped by a relentless series of storms that has piled snow so high they can barely see out the windows. When they try to shovel themselves out, it just snows again. They're thinking of walking to a main road to see if they can hitch a ride down the mountain so they can get home to their teenage daughter and Cobb's elderly father in San Diego County. We hear the phantom sounds of plows, but they never come, said Cobb, 49. Being stuck up here in this beautiful place shouldn't be awful, but it is. Cobb and other beleaguered Californians weathered yet another storm Tuesday as blizzard warnings blanketed the Sierra Nevada range in the southern half of the state. More snow was on its way to the southern mountains like the San Bernardino range, and forecasters warned that any travel was dangerous. On the eastern flank of the Sierra, the Mono County Sheriff's Office bluntly tweeted, "The roads are closed, all of them. There is no alternate route, back way, or secret route. It's a blizzard, people." Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Yep. San Bernardino County has declared a state of emergency with mountain residents trapped in their homes and motorists stranded. More snow is expected in many communities where residents, unable to drive through deep snow on roads that were closed anyway, largely got around on foot. The latest storm in California was one of two bookending the country, with snow closing or delaying the opening for hundreds of schools in the Northeast, which saw the most significant snowfall Tuesday of what had been a mild winter. And Michigan again fought a battle with ice after a storm Monday left thousands of customers without power in the central part of the state. To the southeast around Detroit, some customers still lack power for a 6th day after a prior storm. The storms have delayed travel, shuttered schools, overwhelmed crews trying to dig out of the snow, and repair down power lines. Nationwide, there were about 500 commercial flight cancellations and more than 3,000 delays as of Tuesday afternoon, according to FlightAware.com. In the West, the weather is expected to last into Wednesday, with winter storm warnings stretching from the Oregon coast to many of Southern California's already snow-laden mountains. In the San Bernardino mountain community of Running Springs, the town is covered in snow, with some mounds piling more than 6 feet high. Some residents walked to a grocery store to stock up on food and carried back the bags atop a plastic sled. In nearby Crestline, Michael Johnstone said his family's grocery store was running low on key inventory, even though they stocked up before the storm. Authorities are escorting 2 full grocery trucks up the mountain community, Johnstone said, just in time for the new storm to add as much as a foot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, "We're completely out of bread. Milk is getting really light. We're almost completely out of produce," said Johnstone of Goodwin and Sons Market. "Beer, domestic beer, is really, really low." Johnstone said many of the store's employees can't make it to work, so he's been using a plow truck to shuttle them to and from work for limited hours. Most customers are coming in on foot. Christian Vrishnu, 60, is among them. He made it to Goodwin's on foot, but the shelves were bare of bread and had minimal produce. Still, he felt lucky he was close enough to get there in a 15-minute walk. Oh, there have been people posting online where they're running out of groceries because they live in a part of town that's too far to walk to the grocery store, he said. "We haven't had any snow plows. It's going to take a while before we can all get out." For California skiers and snowboarders, the parade of storms was too much of a good thing. Most resorts around Lake Tahoe suspended operations Tuesday. Big Bear Mountain Resort opened, but all roads leading there were closed. Mount Baldy Resort, on the massive peak that looms over greater Los Angeles, opened, but also anticipated an early closure. But California's Sierra Snowpack, which provides about a third of the state's water supply, continued to benefit from the back-to-back dumps of heavy snowfall. The water content of the snowpack Tuesday, in a state grappling with years of drought, was 186% of normal to date and 162% of the average on April 1st. Wait, what? Did you grab an old story?
No.
No, 15 minutes. Okay, that was weird.
Yeah.
All right, don't know what they're doing, but because I was like, why are they talking about April 1st? Like, we're just starting to get into March.
Yeah.
According to the State Department of Water Resources online data, in the northeast parts of Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island had heavy snow forecast through Tuesday afternoon. Some areas of western Massachusetts and northern Connecticut got about 7 inches. The Albany, New York area saw less snow than expected, 2 to 5 inches, but it was enough to close schools.
I'm just wondering how
Deke
much
Andrew, do what now?
cabins go for.
Do what now?
Well, you like snow. I like California.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could have a nice, lovely winter spot.
Yeah, just right now we've got to start from Arizona and get thrown into a catapult and then just shwoo, yeeted up a mountain.
Spring. We move in May. By freaking November, I've got the freezer stocked, and we can just work our little selves to death all winter long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nothing like how that's going to work out for you. I can tell you right now. Like, you think you're cold now? I don't think that's going to go well for you.
Well, since the other place that I say I want to live got covered in a snowstorm.
I know, right?
Blanketed. LA, Los Angeles area is still blanketed, but by snow in a rare heavy storm.
Yep.
Really?
It is. Yeah.
See, you'd still get your snow every couple years in LA if we moved there.
Yeah. So Deke Andrew, a Maine snowboarder, said he couldn't imagine such a thing as too much snow. The 51-year-old is living out of his Sprinter-style van at Sugarloaf and was out snowboarding as snow was falling Tuesday. Quote, there really isn't any such thing as too much snow in the wintertime, Andrew said. We want as much as we can possibly get. It's incredible and gives a purpose to the cold weather. Yeah, I don't think anyone likes him right now.
Oh, I'm sure
nobody
likes him right now.
It's like, nah, dude, you're burnout. Go back to surfing. Just whatever. Like right. Snowboarding, whatever. Don't care. Just like, please hit a tree. Like, that's got to be where everyone is hearing that comment from him is like, I hope to God you go down a slope and hit a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So we're going to do an Aeson's review.
Oh, okay. We got an Aeson review?
Yes. Hilltop Coffee. Joe's going to do it because I like my mocha extra shot. I actually only need one extra shot of their coffee.
Oh, wait. What am I doing?
You're talking about your new chocolate-covered chai.
Oh, yeah.
With
no,
my OnlyFans account.
Yeah, so I asked for chocolate dirty chai that was dirty enough to have its own OnlyFans account.
They almost didn't put any of it in there.
Do what now?
They almost didn't put any espresso in there.
Oh, they almost forgot my espresso?
Well, you said that it's dirty enough to have an OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
They didn't see that it's dirty. He's 16.
Dude, what?
The barista was only 16. He looked at me and goes, that isn't dirty.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm sorry. Our 16-year-oldish looking barista apparently did not think OnlyFans was dirty.
Correct.
Why do I feel like someone lied to this child and said OnlyFans is a site where, mommies and daddies go to buy ceiling fans? Okay. And moved along.
I don't know. He looked at me like I was talking gibberish to him. I said, I want at least 2 shots of espresso, throw some whipped cream and chocolate in there, and let's call it a day.
Okay.
But anyway, I love their coffee.
Yes.
Maybe on my supply and then we're going to talk about other things going on in the world. Maybe when my supply runs out of coffee, I might go and buy a few bags of it because they do roast their own coffee.
So this fall?
Maybe.
Like, you bought 5 ginormous canisters.
They're not as big as I've bought before.
I know, but there was a sale. There's a sale. He found a sale.
Oh, there is a sale. There is something that Kroger's done dirty.
Oh.
And I mean dirty. Okay, everybody remember going grocery shopping in December and November, and some things were out and some things were very low.
And this is Kroger corporate, not individual stores.
Right. Kroger corporate held on to stock in their warehouses.
And just kept batching it up.
And batching it up and holding it back and holding it back and holding it back. Guys,
and then had an oh shit moment.
And now they have an oh shit moment because everything now has an expiration date on it. So now they're trying to push out as much as their back stock as possible.
Yeah.
So let me clarify. If it can be frozen, or if it is vacuum sealed, it's still good.
Yes. Will be for a while.
Yes.
I mean,
it's good
granted,
for years in a deep freeze.
We don't generally suggest you ignore, you know, for legal reasons, the expiration dates on anything. And I don't even think that's the situation. It's not like it expires soon.
Right.
It's just more so that like it's stale inventory, and if they keep holding it,
right,
it's going to end up piled under. Like it's going to be a constant. They're not getting down to it if they don't get it out of the warehouse.
Right.
So it will eventually.
Yep.
It's just easier now to be like dump it for a low price and get rid of it.
Right. So I was able to get coffee, and I'm talking the big bulk coffee for $4.83.
Yes, he's thrilled.
Yes. Last week we bought seafood, pre-made meals for less than $3. So y'all guys that watch Psychic and the Plans, that menu we've planned, I spent $30 on so far 2 weeks worth of dinners.
Oh yeah. So quick question. So let's give the shout out. So was it a YouTuber or a TikToker that you found this on, and which one was it?
It was YouTube, and it's a Frugal Mom. And she done a fucking cleanup deal. Like, she got pork loins for 98 cents each in Idaho. And I'm like, 98 cents a pound pork loin?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good price. It's a
very
phenomenal price.
You know, at that price, we can go to Walmart and we can have a smaller haul to the back door in my office here.
Yep. So replay grew, and those of you watching right now live, so what was your best deal that you have picked up?
Yes.
We'll love to hear about that in the comments, so drop those below.
Yeah.
And alrighty. Are we commercial 30?
We are commercial 30. We are.
Awesome. Let's take that break, and then we'll shoot back, and we'll tell you about the post office.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIE.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Van chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvann.com, TracyVann.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the high priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
All right.
Yes.
Welcome back. So, we're going to the UK story.
Oh, I thought we were going post office.
Let's go post office. I didn't have it
Okay.
up. Tell me about
Oh,
that.
okay. So the post office buys 9,250 electric vans, 14,000 charge stations. The U.S. Postal Service is buying 9,250 Ford Motor Company electric vans and 14,000 charging stations as part of a move to switch its fleet to electric vehicles. The service also is buying another 9,250 internal combustion vans from Fiat Chrysler in North America, now part of Amsterdam-based Stellantis. The Fiat Chrysler and Ford vehicles together will cost just over $1 billion. The gas-powered vehicles fill an urgent need, the Postal Service said in a statement Tuesday. Dearborn, Michigan-based Ford will start delivering the left-hand drive e-Transit vans in December of this year, while Fiat Chrysler will start shipping the left-hand drive gas-powered vehicles in November. Contracts totaling $260 million for the charging stations went to Blink Charging Company, Siemens Industry Inc., and Rexel USA Energy Solutions, the Postal Service said. Charging stations will be installed at several postal service facilities, including sorting and delivery centers, starting in the third quarter of this year. In December, the Postal Service said it would sharply increase the number of electric-powered delivery trucks and will go all electric for new purchases starting in 2026. The Post Office said it is spending nearly $10 billion to electrify its aging fleet, including installing a modern charging infrastructure at hundreds of postal facilities nationwide and purchasing at least 66,000 electric delivery trucks in the next 5 years. The spending includes $3 billion in funding approved under a landmark climate and health policy adopted by Congress last year.
See, but here's my question, and I'm not the party pooper here. We know a postal worker, and he apparently is not issued a U.S. government vehicle to drive.
And yes, Brenda, 3 counties in West Virginia are getting electric school buses as part of a pilot program in West Virginia, I do believe.
Yeah, my thing is, how's this going to work in our state? Like, there are places that we don't have roads for yet. These vehicles have to go on to deliver rabbits and chickens and ducks and horses and baby goats. And no, I'm not shitting you. You're not here.
Well, though, and our friend that is a postal carrier is technically considered a rural route carrier. I don't think you're going to see any changes to the rural route carriers. The United States Postal Service really hasn't had a good solution for that. Usually those are self-owned, self-operated vehicles
Mm-hmm.
that fundamentally, like, I find that weird. I really do. I find that weird that the United States Postal Service does not furnish a vehicle for rural route carriers and instead drops the entire spending for that.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, granted, I'm sure there's some reimbursement that goes with that. But in one of the worst possible ways, rural route carriers are effectively on their own, maintaining what would otherwise be considered a personal vehicle, as in it's not a left-hand drive. It is not anything unique. And most of them, from what I've seen, Jeep wins on that one,
Right.
for four-wheel drive. And, like, sadly, those carriers, those vehicles go through a lot, and those carriers go through a lot of personal expense keeping those vehicles on the road. That then in turn, I believe, gets submitted to the United States government for reimbursement. In terms of, like, like our friend carries an entire set of tires with him daily.
And he has been known to go through the full set.
In one delivery route.
Yeah.
As in, like, his one circuit in a day, he has gone through all 4 tires.
Yeah.
Because the roads are that rural and that bad.
Right.
I really challenge the idea that those are the best ways to handle this.
Right.
I mean, part of me is very, I don't know, glad that the customers that are sincerely that rural,
Mm-hmm.
they're that far out in the boonies, backwoods, and beyond, that they're still able to manage home mail delivery in the first place.
Right.
So I don't want to see, like, a solution that would be, the United States Postal Service says, fine, get a P.O. box, we ain't delivering there.
Well, I don't
The
think
government.
that's the solution either. But what I'm wondering is, how are these going? Because the old postal vehicles were literally decommissioned. World War One, World War Two, and the armed conflict surplus vehicles.
Are you talking about the ones currently in service?
No, that went into service to design these routes.
Oh, yeah. They were literally Jeep, like, for the really old routes, they were originally Jeeps.
Right.
Like, that's what we did with our surplus military equipment, was we turned that into postal delivery vehicles.
Right. So, why, some of these rural routes like this, I understand we're going to, they want to buy electric, and that's great for, like, LA County and, the, smooth city roads. But these back roads, I think they really should be pulling out some of the surplus Humvee vehicles, maybe some tracked vehicles.
Your mail delivery Humvee. Like, I don't think you're wrong. I'm just having a moment where I'm picturing this big, giant, squatty little Humvee. Mm-hmm. Well, not little, they're huge. But the squatty, because they're kind of flat, Humvee, like, going up the road, painted solid white with the United States Postal Service across the side, going, wow, that's not how this truck began its life. This is not what it thought it was going to be doing in retirement.
Well, no, but at least then we would stop, like, parking them in the desert to do nothing.
Yeah.
We've already paid for them. They're still good vehicles. They just don't need to be dropped off in, I don't know, the Ukraine.
Right. Well, and I think part of that is managing it as a motor pool item.
Right.
like, and I think that's been the long-term issue that the United States Postal Service has had with rural routes, is managing a motor pool for that, and pulling this away from the rural carrier has to take, and get their own damn vehicle and do what they need to do in order to make that happen. Right. And instead make that part of a central motor pool with reasonable vehicles fit for the job, that can handle the terrain and beyond, and make that more functional.
Right. Can you imagine an electric vehicle going on the way we took to Bluefield that one night?
The way we took to Bluefield?
We went from Bluefield to Lewisburg.
Yes.
Up by the lake.
Yeah, there's still limitations. You have to be smart. And this is sometimes where electric vehicles shine.
Yeah.
As well, is that, like, this is mail carrier routes or routes are pretty well fixed within a certain degree. So, unless there's a major detour, unless there's something special going on, generally speaking, they drive the exact same mileage every single day. And if I remember correct, that's well under 100 miles.
Right.
Generally speaking, if you're talking about urban carriers.
Right.
If I remember right, it should be less than 100 miles, but it is a long 8-hour drive. So that vehicle is running in a gas sense 8 hours a day.
Right.
Or thereabouts. But that's again where electric shines, because you're only going to be operating the vehicle while the vehicle is in motion.
Right.
Not idling the vehicle constantly as you go through this route.
Right.
Or repetitively starting it with a traditional starter.
Right. So we will see what happens with this. I just, cannot envision electric vehicles going up around the lake. I cannot envision a vehicle out on what is it, Route 9?
I think Moncove Lake specifically would be a rural route carrier, if I remember correctly, because that's a weird area anyway. Most of that's not home delivery. Strangely enough, most of it is not going to be home delivery unless it is package delivery. And I believe most of that area is actually, because you got to remember, Moncove Lake is actually more of a second property community, not a primary residence community. Like, there are some year-round primary residents, like this is their house.
Right.
But I think the majority are using postal boxes.
Right. But what I'm saying is, can you imagine them doing that delivery route, or the other route that you took me? And I was like, dear God, where have you taken me to? Like, I see the interstate up there.
Oh, that's that's a fun one. So if you are in the Princeton area, you may be familiar with Brush Creek Falls. There is this tiny, narrow, almost one-lane road that takes you from the intersection of Eads Mill and what's the stupid school? Anyway, it drives you right past Pikeview High School. Drives you right past there, and it's literally, you're looking at 77, and you're driving right along beside it, and like you go away and you come back.
Oh, Aeson didn't hear just banjos, honey. He heard spoons. Forget banjos. Banjos is upscale. He heard spoon playing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think probably about crapped himself a couple of times, because that is a road people are notorious for doing way too quickly. So it is a constant, because it's like a lane and a quarter. Like, it's unlined. There are no lines on it. It's just a strip of asphalt. It looks like a service road.
Yeah.
It gets treated like a racetrack.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of blind corners where you can't see what's coming at you, if anything, unless it's the middle of the night and someone's using headlights and has two of them and they're on. And that's a problem on that road, by the way. But no, it is in the middle of nowhere, except you're looking at 77, and it's a heck of a road. And it is part of a mail carrier route. I do believe, again, that's a rural route. It's a rural route.
Yeah.
Like, it's not part of standard USPS, like, here's your, corporate, or here's your government issued Chevy S10 with a box.
Right.
Like, because that's what our current fleet is built on, is the Chevy S10 modified.
Which I don't understand why we don't have all brand new GMs after we bought fucking GM.
Honestly, I think it probably has more to do with, one, its bidding process, and two, GM got it last time.
Well,
and argumentatively, it did not go well.
Well, no, it didn't.
Like, those have been some of the most problematic mail trucks in our postal service history.
Yeah.
As in, they have no air conditioning. They have, if I remember correctly, they don't even have heat.
All right. What I'm saying is, why is it that our mail carriers are driving subliminal vehicles when we own the freaking company that makes them?
Well, you'd think, right?
Yeah.
But no, it hasn't gone well.
No.
So I think, one, the United States federal government was ready for a massive change for this round of vehicle purchases. Two, I think Ford with the E-Transit actually did some good things.
Okay.
Like, honestly, sincerely, they basically built a souped up mail truck.
That'll work.
The transit line. Like, that was the first thing I thought when I saw them.
Cool. Very interesting.
That's a mail truck. That's a freaking 21st century mail truck. Right. Like,
21st century mail truck arrives with ding, you got new mail.
Well, that'd be cute. But more so, like, the problem that the United States Postal Service has been facing for many years now is Amazon rules the world. We are all buying our shit on Amazon and having it home delivered in cute little boxes in a truck base that was built for letter mail, not package mail.
Right.
Back when the vast majority of mail that one received at their home was going to be letter mail with a few packages. Those trucks were designed for letter mail predominantly, like letters and basically anything about letter size. Small, flat, and like big only in 2 dimensions. Those trucks were built for, not boxes.
Right.
So it's actually created a lot of splitting of routes at this point, in which it's basically you start the route, you empty the truck because you've had to, take stuff out so you can do all the packages. You go back, you refill, and you continue. Is our current mail delivery system. Because it is so inundated with packages, and it's why there are a lot of delivery delays in getting those packages out, because it creates a significant strain trying to run these routes in a way that is efficient, given the size limitations of the current vehicles.
Right.
So that is part of, like, the E-Transit appeal, is they are better suited and a larger vehicle overall, but better suited to package delivery than they are just standard, here's your pile of letters and magazines and catalogs and all that.
Right.
Because while we're still receiving those, a significant amount of space in those trucks is now devoted to packages compared to previously.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. I just don't foresee, them going. I'm hoping the U.S. Postal Service in Washington has enough sense not to ship it off to West Virginia, to go up like Harrison County.
again, parts of these counties, I mean, are going to be perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could sit here and say, like, well, God, I hope they don't send it to Fayette County.
No, I think Fayette County would be just fine in.
Okay, but there's still parts of Fayette County. Do you really want to see one of those trying to make a delivery route?
I'd like to see our mail carrier have one, because I think it works in this area. That's
Yeah,
what
because
I'm talking about. Is it
we're a
now?
town.
Huh?
We're a simple little town.
Yeah, we're a simple little town, and we're all little paved roads.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cute. It's adorable. I'm sure you can just as easily name portions of this county that it's like, dear God, I don't know how you get up it without, mountain climbing equipment.
Well, Coke up and a holler ain't that long, and I'm quite sure they're not going to deliver it to the houses up there.
Well, yeah, and then we've got Paint Creek area, which they need a mail delivery boat because most of the time it's flooding.
Yeah, true. I'm quite sure that they have gotten a boat for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little airboat, little Rescue Rangers style airboat.
Yeah.
Just send them in. Whoosh, whoosh. Anyway,
Yeah.
so.
I think that would be a good move. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on. This one interests me because I remember the scandal to begin with, and now we're seeing it come full a circle.
All right. So I'm sorry, which one is this? The
UK.
Pentagon official?
No. UK. British woman who joined.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I was having a little trouble seeing it because I got ads popping up. There we go. British woman who joined ISIS as a teen loses UK citizenship appeal. Shamima Begum, who left the United Kingdom to join ISIS at the age of 15, has lost her appeal against the decision to revoke her British citizenship. Judge Robert J. gave the decision on Wednesday following a 5-day hearing in November, during which her lawyers argued the UK Home Office had a duty to investigate whether she was a victim of trafficking before removing her citizenship. The ruling does not determine if Begum can return to Britain, but whether the removal of her citizenship was lawful. Begum, now 23 and living in a camp in northern Syria, flew to the country in 2015 with 2 school friends to join the ISIS terror group. In February 2019, she reemerged and made international headlines as an quote-unquote ISIS bride after pleading with the UK government to be allowed to return to her home country for the birth of her son. Then Home Secretary Sajid Javid removed her British citizenship on February 19th, 2019, and Begum's newborn son died in a Syrian refugee camp the following month. She told UK media she had 2 other children prior to that baby who also died in Syria during infancy. Begum's lawyers criticized Wednesday's ruling as a, quote, lost opportunity to put into reverse a profound mistake and a continuing injustice. The outcome is that there is now no protection for a British child trafficked out of the UK. Do what now?
She wasn't trafficked. She can't win TV.
Well, but of course, this is going to be their argument of a child trafficked out of the UK. If the Home Secretary invokes national security, Gareth Pierce and Daniel Ferner of Bernberg Pierce Solicitors said in a statement seen by UK news agency PA Media. Begum remains in unlawful, arbitrary, and indefinite detention without trial in a Syrian camp. Every possible avenue to challenge this decision will be urgently pursued, it continued. Rights group Amnesty International described the ruling as a, quote, very disappointing decision. The power to banish a citizen like this simply shouldn't exist in the modern world, not least when we're talking about a person who was seriously exploited as a child. Steve Valdez Simmons, the group's UK refugee and migrant rights director, said in a statement, along with thousands of others, including a large number of women and children, this young British woman is now trapped in a dangerous refugee camp in a war-torn country and left largely at the mercy of gangs and armed groups. The Home Secretary shouldn't be in the business of exiling British citizens by stripping them of their citizenship, Valdez Simmons said. Oh, and basically it seems like that's how this continues on.
Well, it's how, they're gaining sympathy. Okay. For those that do not remember the original news story, She and 3 other, and I'm sure many other British children, after the bombings, ran and joined ISIS. Wanted to be part of ISIS, wanted to, enlist in ISIS, marry ISIS men, the whole 9 yards. Okay. We saw this before. Where do we see this in? We saw this, and we actually lost a king of England over it, running for the Nazi party. Well, guess what? ISIS is now defeated, falling apart, whatever you want to call it. And they want to come home and, regain and repatronize themselves.
Repatriate. But here's the thing, though, and what they're arguing is at 15, this isn't quite the same as a 18-year-old fully grown adult making a choice with adult responsibilities attached. This is a child, effectively, legally, a minor, who I would see it as no different as, because effectively the situation started talking to a bunch of grown-ass men online, got swept up in the idea that, they would love and cherish and respect her and blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
Or sold her this bill of goods on what ISIS was and that it's all lies that you're reading in the news and Western media, blah, 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 whatever. Argumentatively, I think what her attorneys are trying to make a point of is that she is no different than any other child that goes online, talks to strangers, gets pulled into whatever, basically pulled into a van, driven out of the country, driven, out of their life.
Right.
And then, realizing quickly their mistake, has no way out.
But that's the problem. She had a way out. The UN said, we will bring them home if they want to come home.
Well, but then again, you have to sit here and wonder how much of this was Stockholm Syndrome or just pure and unadulterated fear that, has been instilled in her that if you leave, we will kill you, your family, everyone you know. Like, there's no telling what all she's been threatened with if she leaves.
Right.
Just to finally, get to a point.
Right.
Or, maybe she does not actually want to leave and instead just wanted a child born in the U.S. or born in the UK to have citizenship.
Right.
For whatever reasons one would want that, there's a few different ones to be established.
Right.
That arguments could be made. But does she have the right to retain her citizenship was the fundamental question.
Right.
There's a lot of argument around what the UK has done. Is one, controversial, like it's not typical. And two, that it does create some ugly precedent that, and especially for victims of trafficking and sex abuse.
Right.
Because, I mean, even if she was a willing participant, quote unquote, the law says at 15 she can't be. And that's even in the UK. She has to be 16 to consent before she can legally consent to sexual activity. I don't know what else happened in this case for her sexually, but she would still have to be a 15-year-old to consent. She was still a minor.
Right.
So anyone touches her at,
right,
in that way, I'm sorry, you raped a child legally under UK law.
Under UK law. And I agree with that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they sent people to get her. She refused to go. She went on television of her own free will and made statements and claims and, ISIS is going to win, ISIS this, ISIS that. And now she's reaping the consequences of her choices and decisions at that time.
Again,
Or,
though, we
take
do
me
not.
back to Britain. No.
Well, but again, we don't know how traumatized, how victimized, how abused she was, how
Mhm.
fearful for her life and the life of others she might have been.
Right.
Like, and that's ultimately that is what her lawyers are arguing, is that, she was a victim in this.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that she is capable of leaving,
Right.
you then revoke her citizenship and deny her access because she's no longer a citizen, and was involved
Right.
in this persona non grata country.
Right.
I mean, that fundamentally gets to a heart of a question of how involved is she? How involved was she? How duped was she? How exploited was she? In terms of, are we talking about someone who is a central figure to ISIS, who's being sent back to the UK to do some horrible thing? Or are we talking about someone who thought they were getting into something that they weren't, and were effectively exploited during the time they were there, that now just wants to go fucking home
Mm-hmm.
and get out of the nightmare, be done with the nightmare, get out of the situation because they learned their lesson, they fucked up, they did many wrong things. Like, please let me come home.
Right.
And that's got to be a huge debate in the UK as to what this well, now adult, but this previous child's situation is.
Right.
And what does it mean?
Well, and a big debate on what does it mean. What does it mean when you make an adult decision?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As a child.
As a 15-year-old. I
Yeah.
won't say child because she's not a child at 15. She wasn't 4. She would have been, if it was a murder case, she was charged with murder, which is what they debated on charging them with,
Mm-hmm.
or treason. They
Mm-hmm.
would have been charged as an adult.
Well, and that goes to the bigger heart of this, is that we do have this duality under the law.
Right.
That when we're talking about murder specifically, if you're 15-year-old and you kill your parents, you're charged as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But if an adult attacks you as a 15-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then that's rape. You had no adult abilities in this situation. You couldn't consent.
Right.
Or even literally, you're 15 with a 32-year-old boyfriend.
Right.
You were a child. You were completely innocent. This should never have happened to you, no matter how many things you did
Mm-hmm.
to engage yourself, like, in the sense that you're 15 and you're like, this is what you say you want.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you sought out. This
Right.
is everything you did to make that occur.
Right.
Legally, regardless of the fact that you're making adult decisions and you're claiming the ability to make those adult decisions, we will still look at you at 15 and go, you can't do that.
Right.
But if you kill your parents, we're going to put you in adult prison.
Right.
And charge you as an adult all the way through this.
Right.
That's a weird duality to have, in which someone can be an adult in one situation, like fully recognized legal adult in the situation, even though 5 seconds before they committed that murder, they were still considered a minor child, couldn't do all kinds of things legally under the law. And even once they've been charged, there are things they cannot legally do under the law.
Mm-hmm.
And then flip the situation, and it goes the other way. And it's like, no, you had no ability. You're a child.
Right. So which is it?
Well, exactly.
At one
Exactly. I
point
think
or
that's where I'm
another,
at.
they had to rule that she was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At one point or another, they had to rule that she was an adult. That ruling has to stand.
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay, as in the fact that they made the determination to treat her as an adult in this situation.
Right.
Okay, but I think that's sort of where her lawyers also are, is does the home secretary
Mm-hmm.
have the ability to make that determination legally
Mm-hmm.
that, one, you're an adult, even though it says you're 15 years old when you did all this.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, you were an adult. You made adult choices. You fundamentally stripped yourself of the right to British citizenship. All I'm doing is signing the papers that makes that official.
Right. And she's publicly said she did not want to be a British citizen at 15.
At 15.
Yes. And they respected that decision, because otherwise they would have went and got her, rescued her from ISIS, and brought her back to Britain.
But again, I think that's the question her lawyers are seriously trying to argue,
Mm-hmm.
is not only did the Home Secretary have that right to honor that,
Mm-hmm.
but did she have the actual legal capacity, the ability,
Mm-hmm.
and based on what?
Right.
Based on what? Yes, she said it. Teenagers say a lot of stupid things.
Right. But what I'm
You know.
saying is she won one case to stay part of ISIS.
Mhm.
Okay. So she has to stand on that one,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
She can't do both.
Well, argumentatively, I see exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Like, I understand it, is that you already have one case on the books
Mm-hmm.
where you asked for this.
Right.
Now here you come again and go, no, that's not what I wanted.
Right.
I can see going, look, no backsies. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, because that's about where it comes down to, is like, no, you got what you wanted.
Basically, this is what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She is arguing that, and we see this all the time, that, this person's guilty. Fine. They're guilty. They're convicted. And then when it doesn't suit her anymore, she's not guilty. You can't hold me to this. I'm not guilty of it. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
You either, committed terroristic threats against your parent country and reneged your citizenship for another citizenship.
I think there's a little bit better way to say that, is either you were an adult with the capacity to make this decision and should have been allowed and were allowed to make this decision, and you got what you wanted,
mm-hmm.
or you were an exploited minor who was held in by a terrorist organization, threatened and coerced and, Stockholm syndromed into doing terrible tragedies.
Right.
And you're perfectly innocent. And I think I think we can both agree she almost exists in a gray area, somewhere between the two. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, legally has been recognized for one and disavowed of the other.
Right.
Like, she's been recognized as an adult capable of making this decision.
Mm-hmm.
And you got what you wanted. May you want what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And your ability to claim victimhood and your ability to claim that you were coerced and manipulated, and all this harm came to you. Sorry, deaf ears, we can't hear it.
Right.
You showed up. You did everything you were supposed to or could do and created some precedent for.
Mm-hmm.
To do this. Your lawyers made really great legal arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And you're stuck living with it. Like,
right.
Don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. It's unfortunate. I hate that for you if that's really what happened.
Right. Which I don't think it is. Sorry, I don't. I think she joined ISIS in Britain, put Britain at risk, and then now that ISIS has fallen apart, she bet on the wrong horse and she's wanting to run back to raise her children in Britain when she's the one that renounced her British citizenship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a very complex case. I think it's a very and I can have some sympathy for the concept of should she have ever been able to do this in the first place.
Well, a British judge ruled she was able to do that, and she was able to renege her citizenship. Till at
Citizenship.
18, not 15, 18, when she was an ISIS bride.
Right, but this all started when she was 15. There's 3 intervening years there where she's been solely there.
Right.
Like, and again, I can see that from either direction.
Right.
Is either she's a willing participant and she acted in a very adult way, even though legally not an adult.
Right.
Or she made a stupid childhood decision at 15, and everyone helped her make it.
Right.
And then now, finally, she's woken up and gone, oh, okay, this was like, get me out of here. Which, unfortunately, it's like you had every opportunity to be like, get me out of here.
Right.
And you denied it every single time. And it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry for your luck.
Right.
You're stuck now.
Right.
Like, accept it, deal with it, and move on.
Right. You've made your choice. You made your choice then. You're making your choice now. You can't, and you knew what you were doing.
Right. More importantly, you can't have both.
Right.
We can't give you both.
Right.
You already got one. You have to live with it.
Right.
Oh, so yeah, again, and I wonder what this is going to do for the future, though. Because this was so far out of the norm. I'm just wondering what this does in the future, like how this shapes UK policy towards can you do this in the future, given that we now know the outcome.
Right.
Like, can you at 15 become a runaway? Because effectively you're a minor. That's what you are. You ran away. You joined an organization, which is a terrorist organization that is also known for not being very friendly towards women in general.
Right.
Like it has a lot of problems with the Western world and the way we treat women.
Like human beings. Well, most of them.
Well, but that's, again, part of my point is that this is the organization she left, a country that recognizes women as human beings. And went to an organization in a country that does not really see that.
Right.
And then spent 3 years there before she then renounces her UK citizenship.
Right.
I'm just wondering, where does UK and the Home Secretary go from this disaster forward in going, okay, should we not have allowed that to occur? Like, we can't fix her situation.
Right. But there's at least 3 others in the situation, if not more, because this was a very large problem. This was worse than draft dodging when it came to the UK. And teenagers running off to, join this terroristic group in the UK.
Well, and in the U.S., teenagers were eating Tide Pods, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
How much stock can you put into something you originate in your life at age 15?
Well, my question or my view of this is we make decisions throughout our life, no matter what the age is. You make a choice, you make a decision, whether it is a good one or a bad one, you have to live with it. Okay. And, when do we stop the cotton balling, bubble wrapping of children?
And it's not that I say that every child need have no repercussion or responsibility for their actions. Like, we recognize that a 15-year-old can drive a car, and that if and should be doing that with the accompaniment of an adult licensed driver over the age of 21, if I remember correctly, when they do it. And we recognize the idea that if you were 15, steal your parents' car, go off joyriding, get drunk, and hit someone, you're responsible for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though you're a child, you were privileged with a driver's license, and you accepted terms and conditions and responsibilities that came with that.
All right.
I don't argue that this should be a get out of jail free to show up and say, oh, I was sexually exploited and, abused. I don't think even her lawyers are there with that. It's just the final massive component of complete loss of British citizenship.
All right.
That is what they're arguing, is like in the same scenario, if she had gotten drunk at 15, gone on a joyride in her parents' car, killed 3 people, should she inherently lose her citizenship? Should she spend the rest of her life in prison for what she did drunk at 15? It doesn't say should she have no responsibility and no consequences whatsoever. No one's arguing that. She needs responsibility and consequences real damn quick. But at 15, how far is reasonable to go with that? Because this isn't a premeditated crime. It's a series of stupid, youthful, bad decision makings that led to a tragedy. If she had gotten into a car drunk at 15 and killed 3 people.
Right.
That would be horrible.
We don't know how many people, how many soldiers she killed. We don't know how many people, how many bombs she built. We don't know how much she done to what. Because, of course, terrorists don't keep battle records.
Fair enough. And no, I don't think anyone's claiming she should have zero responsibility, zero consequences for everything that she's done. They're just arguing is removal of British citizenship, which is a pretty significant act, be where this story ends.
Okay, let's take it to you. That computer you got at what, 11, 12? The one you got for Christmas. The one you didn't understand because it was a PC, not a Mac.
Oh, way back years ago, yes.
Yeah. Let's say
back in the 90s, my first computer, my little 486 DX2, yes.
Yes. Let's say, you used it to break into the CIA database because you're just that skilled, man. And you emailed Putin because you thought it was a prank all the information on the CIA agents in Russia. Should you even be touching a computer at your age?
Again, I don't think anyone can argue that that's a reasonable consequence for a reasonable crime, or for the nature of the crime. Don't ever touch a computer again. That's your horrible, unfortunate, 1990s, and it's happened.
Yeah.
It has happened. That is literally part of our history, is that kids, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, hacked in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, government organizations, and were sentenced to never touch a computer again.
Right.
Imagine that shit. Like, in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't a humongous deal.
Right.
Like, a lot of the world still ran on paper files and typewriters and all this, and computers were still kind of new and shiny. Flash forward, what all does that mean now? Can they touch a smartphone? Can they, what can they use? Probably none of it, based on that, 90s era law and sentencing. And it's a humongous inconvenience now. But again, reasonable to the crime committed. would that necessarily, and going your full route of, and then dropped documents to foreign leaders
Mm-hmm.
as a prank, or because they thought it'd be funny, or because there's whatever, should they not only, like, forget that sentence, we're not even going to bother with that, we're going to expel you from the country,
Mm-hmm.
strip you of your citizenship, and go, fine, you want to send shit to Putin at 3 a.m, see how he feels about you landing in Russia.
Right.
See how he feels about you landing in Russia. Good luck.
Right.
To a 12-year-old, to a 15-year-old, to whatever. I think that's where the argument lies with this one is that reasonable
Mm-hmm.
given the situation? Now, again, I'm back to, I don't think she deserves to get out of this scot-free, like, oh my God, you were, horribly treated. Here, come back to the UK, we'll give you money and celebrity, and you'll be, have a talk show, do whatever, start an OnlyFans. We don't
Right.
care. Go on through your life. We wish you much joy and success.
Right.
No, I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Right.
Like, it should not be a warm welcome. It just should be, this is your country of origin. This is your country of birth.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, when you get back here, you have a lot of shit to deal with.
Right.
And you may spend time in prison.
Yeah.
You may have certain limitations. You may be on a no-fly list. You may not be able to freely travel.
Right.
You may have monitored communications.
Mm-hmm.
You may go through a lot.
Yeah.
Just to be in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But should the UK have gone so far as to fully revoke citizenship?
Right.
And then not allow her to regain it?
Right.
That's where I'm sitting here, is I can't imagine we would ever attempt the same thing exactly with a 15-year-old committing cybercrime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we're like, you're never touching a computer again.
Right.
Like, okay, kid, got it. Like, comp sci is not going to be your college major. Okay, good luck with that. Back in the 90s,
right?
And now today, yeah, really effing sucks. You're having to sit there and write out a time card because you're not allowed to use the electric timekeeping system at your job,
right?
And your employer's really annoyed by that.
Right.
Kind of thinking about firing you for the inconvenience you are.
Right.
You can't use a computer to start your own business. You can't do all kinds of things. You can't even read an ebook.
Right.
Because draconian law that you were sentenced under said something that at the time did not necessarily take into account the future.
Yeah. So here we go. In 2015, her sister told British lawmakers there had been no indication whatsoever that Samuel had fallen under the influence of the Islamic extremists before she left London for Syria. Not at all. My sister was into the normal teenage things. She used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians and stuff like that. There is nothing to indicate that she was rationalized in any way, not at home. Families blame police for not notifying them directly that another girl from the same school ran off to become an ISIS bride just months earlier. Instead, police gave girls at the school a letter to hand to their parents, but they never actually handed it over.
Okay.
Time machine.
Well, but see, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That almost goes to her favor. She wasn't radicalized
at home
while she was still in the UK.
Right.
Now, what happened after she got there is a different story.
Right.
But the reason that she left sounds more like a child sex crime.
Right.
In which potentially an adult male starts talking to a child. You're so pretty. You're so beautiful. I love you so much. Your parents are stupid. Your friends are stupid. Your enemies at school and your bullies at school are stupid. I love you. I want to take care of you. I would cherish you. Blah, 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 blah. If you've seen a Law and Order SVU or, To Catch a Predator, you get it.
Right.
that what this is all going to sound like, and that she left not to join an ISIS organization and become a terrorist. She left as part of an exploited child situation.
Yeah, but then
Again, that kind of goes to her favor.
That's the whole part. Is she refused to come back. She challenged them, challenged the police, challenged everybody to come back.
Okay, and that's, I think, where her lawyers and even I can make the argument. If you were talking about she decided to leave and they caught her at the airport,
right?
Would it have been the same situation in which she's like, no, I'm part of ISIS, I want to marry someone, blah, 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 whatever? Or would it have been a situation where it's like, oh my God, I fucked up, I got caught, I'm busted, please take me home, like,
Right.
few
When
tears.
they found her in Syria with the other two and was like, come home. And there was girls that went back home. Okay. And, done parole and whatever. She refused to go. They could not force her to leave her then husband in Syria because then she's an adult. It's like when you're emancipated in the United States, your parents cannot force you to do anything because you are an emancipation. She chose not to leave.
Well, in the U.S., we have much the same thing as once you're like, you can be a child bride at 14 or whatever.
9. Thank you, Ted.
Whatever age. Effectively, at that point, you become an adult. You still have some of the restrictions against you because of your age, like you can't buy cigarettes and alcohol. But you can do many other adult things, including the fact that you're married. At that point, now we could debate that all night long and how there's issues with that. And many people have that, can or should a, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old be capable under the law, even with parental consent, to be married, and especially if the person marrying them is potentially an abuser.
Right.
Like, this is not, two teenagers in love, some cute little story about like a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old that fell in love and want to get married, and the world's against us, and or is this, a story of a 15-year-old and a 35-year-old member of a terrorist organization? Like, whoa. That would be the moment where I'm sitting here, that's not the same thing.
Right.
These are very different things. Like 14, 16-year-old, I can have some sympathy and a lot of compassion for, and I don't necessarily think that's inherently abusive.
Right.
I think it could be. I'm just saying inherently, my first thought isn't that's abusive.
Right.
The 15-year-old and the 35-year-old, I would be like, whoa, pump those brakes, pump them hard.
Exactly. But unfortunately, they were married.
And Syria says this is a perfectly valid legal marriage, and, hi, welcome to Syria. You're now
an adult
and a resident and a citizen.
Well, resident, not citizen.
Resident.
Did not get a citizenship because she's in a refugee camp. Okay. Bigger problem here is the British government is like, okay, now what do we do with this? Because that ain't legal here. And Syria said, she's a Syrian citizen. She can choose to stay or go. I'm staying. Okay. Not much we can do with that. Here you go. We can't do anything with that. Fast forward to 23, so 8 years. I want to come home. I want my citizenship back. I want everything back. Now that the war is over, I want my benefits back. I want the state to pay for the birth of my child. And the Home Secretary said, no.
Well, and I think we can all agree this is a horribly tragic story, no matter how you slice it.
Right.
No matter which side you're on, it's a horribly tragic story. Like,
Right.
I feel bad, and like, even Brenda's has said, like, where were her parents? And I can't imagine watching my kid choose to do this.
Right.
Like, I think it's a horribly tragic story, no matter what you do with it.
Right.
Um,
I think it's a horrible, tragic story at 15. Okay?
Yeah.
I think it's a
Yeah.
horrible, tragic story at 15. I do not understand why that mother was not allowed to take her flip-flop from the UK all the way to wherever she was in Syria, grab that girl by the ear, and drag her to the airport. But apparently, the international relations would not allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's 23.
Mm-hmm.
And looked for the British government to just take her back.
Yeah.
And to be free, because they can't charge her with anything because they don't have proof of it, other than her saying, I am not a British citizen. I am a citizen of ISIS.
Right. Or more importantly, well, so she wasn't just a resident of Syria, because you were saying a minute ago she was a citizen of Syria. That's why they couldn't make her leave.
Citizen
we can't do anything with her.
Right.
Yeah, we can't do anything with her. She's a citizen. I don't know what you want. She married someone. She's a citizen. She got the U.S. equivalent of a green card marriage.
Right.
Like, she's a citizen. Like, So yeah, I think this is an unfortunate area of international law meets international law, like two countries' laws conflicting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And especially given the situation between the two countries to begin with.
Right.
As well as the involved group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were any easy answers. I don't think there, like, and I'm not saying there were, like, I'm really trying not to say there were easy answers here. I'm saying it's just a very horrible story all around. I don't know that there were any good, easy ways to deal with this. And I don't know that inherently totally denying her is the right answer either.
I don't think it's the right answer. Do I think it's the only answer that was left for the government to have? Yes.
Yeah. That I can agree on.
It's not the best one, but it was the only one left. After her action,
that's all we got.
After what was left, this is what she left there for us to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the situation itself, unfortunately, created.
Right.
Like, it's not like you drove down the road at 15 and married some 35-year-old and, like, hi, I don't want to, no, I love him. I want to spend the rest of my life with him. And the government, like, it's not that situation where the government can be like, yeah, you're a child. You can't do that.
Yeah, go home. You have homework to do.
Get home. We'll annul the marriage. Just, no, go home.
Right.
They dealt with they were dealing with a whole other country that says, no, you can do that. That's perfectly legal here.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and we've had this situation in the United States between Virginia and West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia used to say you had to wait 30 days. You had to be over the age of 18. Virginia's like, no, we can marry you in 48 hours.
Or less.
Or less.
Actually, immediately.
Immediately.
Well, and here's the thing. My grandmother did that.
Right.
Not only did her sister and her husband get married in Parisburg, Virginia, so did my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
With the added step of her sister did it at 18, legally,
mm-hmm.
drove across the county and state lines
mm-hmm.
to Parisburg, which is the first stop you could go and get a quickie marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was literally walk in, pay your fee, fill out the paperwork, you're married.
Right. Well,
bada bing, bada boom, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Way back then. Because we're talking the 1930s.
Right.
My grandmother
mm-hmm.
had to go one extra step and basically alter her birth certificate turned a 9 into a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently took a lot of extra effort to very carefully turn that 9 to look like a 7,
Mm-hmm.
so that she was 18 or over the age of 18.
Right.
Because she was basically 1 year underage. She was 17 when she got married.
Mm-hmm.
So that when she went, she presented a birth certificate that said she was born in 1917 and she could get married.
Right.
And they allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once she got home,
Mm-hmm.
argumentatively,
Mm-hmm.
her parents could have thrown a ballistic fit and gotten the marriage annulled.
Could have.
I guess thankfully, I mean,
I think
I don't know, how do you want to
you had
slice
a
that?
lovely thing, but thankfully there wasn't the state of West Virginia versus the state of Virginia on,
Mhm.
that she's underage. And she could say, "No, I'm not a resident of West Virginia. I'm a resident of Virginia. See the line of blue fields over there."
Yeah, really. And argumentatively, she could have. Like, if her parents wanted to push that, she could have, like, just absconded to Virginia, just
Cross
left,
the street.
and exactly cross the street, go to Virginia. I'm a resident of Virginia now. Please don't take me home.
Right.
Which fundamentally was a large part of why her and my grandfather got married. The situation between her and her mother was very tense.
Right. But what I'm saying is, and then at 23,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to move back in at mommy and daddy and say I was never married.
Again, it may have been possible if she had made that decision to go back and try to argue that the marriage deserved to be annulled or canceled, however, legally it was to be done.
Right.
Because she wasn't legal. Like, she lied to the government, and she probably would have done some, maybe a little bit of jail time, maybe a bit of probation. For that, because you falsified a legal document and presented it. So you have forgery and I believe uttering at that point, but I think that might just be for financial instruments any which way.
No, swearing is utterance.
Yeah. So you've lied to the state government of Virginia. And that would actually be where it has to be done, not West Virginia, because West Virginia, you didn't get married here. Like, what do you want us to do about it?
Right.
You have to go to Virginia and go, I lied to you, Virginia, about my age 4 or 5 years ago. And now I want to undo it.
All right.
I lied to you. I was not of legal age to enter into marriage. When I entered into a marriage, I want out of the marriage. I think argumentatively, you could have done that. Like, she could, I believe, have done that, because effectively it wasn't a legal marriage. It shouldn't have taken place.
Right.
Now, all this kind of apparently came out at some future point in my family, many years after it had been done. Because it wasn't one of those stories she just like, oh yeah, by the way, it came out in the genealogy that my dad was doing, that, wait, how the hell did you get married? Because, I thought you said that your mother didn't want you getting married. And my grandmother's like, she didn't. And so I forged my birth certificate, went across the state line to Parisburg, Virginia, presented the birth certificate. They didn't bat an eyelash. I pretended like I was already 18. We got married.
Right.
And by the time we got home, there was nothing Mama and Daddy could do about it. Because thankfully, her mother was at least of the mindset of, you got married before God. So you're married. There's nothing I can do about that. Right. Get your crap and get out.
Right. But my point being is, that's kind of the situation that she's in. She chose this. She lied to the government. Well, she didn't lie. She used the government to her best advances. Now she's trying to use the government again to her best advances. And the home agency said, oh, no, 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 no. Remember back 3 years ago when we tried to bring you home and you refused to come home? You told us to take it and shove it, that you were no longer a British citizen. Well, you're not.
Well, but see, I have to go back to the original case that you're talking about, and as you're calling it to her best advantage.
Right.
Was it though? Was it though? Was it though?
Right.
Seriously, was then it to her benefit, to her best advantage,
To
to
her want.
be able to renounce her citizenship
Mm-hmm.
and to have the home secretary say you're not a citizen?
Right.
Was that really to her benefit? Because you're saying like she did this all for her benefit.
Right.
Was it though? Like it really wasn't.
Well, it
Like,
really wasn't from the outsider's perspective. From the insider's perspective, she got what she wanted. Now she's
she
wanting
got
to get
what she said she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a
Well,
big giant crowbar of distinction.
On court record, and basically, the Brits tried to do everything they could to get her to come home. The mother, the sister, everyone put all four forces into getting her and the other two girls to come home. And they said, nope, we're part of ISIS now. We are ISIS brides.
Yeah. Well, but what if we heard, and I think that might be another part of the story that becomes important, is what has come out of those who did return. Like about what was done to them while they were there. Like, was it just one big giant slumber party and everyone was really awesome and no one threatened them or their families or anyone they knew with harm or death or anything like that? I find it hard to go like this is going to be the softer side of ISIS that she walked into. Like the kinder, gentler ISIS that's just like, it's a slumber party.
Well, what's interesting is the American University National Security's Law Brief 2001 writes Return the ISIS Bride. Give me a minute to speed read here. Yada 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 yada.
Like, I just can't see ISIS Bride being a rosy situation for anyone to be in. Like, especially the woman.
Right.
Really, especially her. And the children that may be a byproduct of the marriage.
Well, this isn't three. From the U.S. alone, 550 young women left their homes in Western nations to join ISIS, to become wives to ISIS fighters and mothers to their children. Young women played the domestic support role that has been referred to as ISIS brides. ISIS brides played a critical role in preparation of terrorism. Women were often form an encouragement for men to join ISIS as jihad fighters, serving as tokens of their main role to be commodities to be traded, given rewards to jihad fighters. Additionally, they were issued a number of potential fighters to support ISIS for years to come by birth and indoctrinating a new generation. Beyond just their traditional domestic roles of cooking, cleaning, and raising children, they had been responsible for maintaining female hostages taken by. So yeah, they kept care of war criminals. Took care of the prisoners.
Right.
Their support provided essential level of organization for ISIS, allowed the fighters to focus on the battlefield impact, critical success of ISIS and their abilities to grow. However, ISIS has begun to lose its strongholds. Women are increasingly seeing battlefield roles. Women and girls Some as young as 15 have left the comfort of the Western world in order to aid ISIS in the way that they have been convinced is correct. Namely, these young women are charged with having babies for and I can't pronounce the word. Miscarriage and infant deaths are common among the number of other issues women face in this war-torn society.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Brenda says now that's a recruitment poster. Join and get a young bride.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like it was written as copy by Margaret Atwood vis-a-vis The Handmaid's Tale.
Mm-hmm.
That because what you're reading and what you're talking about is the usage of women
Mm-hmm.
as currency. Like you sign up for the U.S. military, any military branch, and get a sign-on bonus in cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's an inducement.
Right.
In Syria, you get handed a woman.
Right.
That's what they're saying. That's what all that said. And that woman that you were issued
Right.
then goes on to bury your children, cook your food, clean your house, take care of any prisoners of war, and effectively then get traded around
Mm-hmm.
as rewards in a system. Excuse me, but that sounds exploitive. That's a little exploitative. That doesn't sound like, love. That doesn't really sound like a situation that is conducive to like mental health and stability. That doesn't sound like a situation that
Okay.
most people would go on to not regret. Does it?
It doesn't, but I'm looking at the codes they're using here. U.S. Code 1481.
Okay.
Challenger citizenship status. The U.S. has no legal grounds under U.S. Code 1441 to deprive ISIS bribes of citizenship. Likewise, the U.S. and other Western countries have an obligation under international law to repatriate this is a legal brief to get them to repatriate, and they're trying to argue 1481. Just give me a minute to go find 1481 because, sorry, it's not something I've stored in my brain.
Right. Well, and I think that's where the argument is being made in the UK is that, like, she didn't go and, like, marry a guy that she was in love with, and they started a family and developed a home, and they were truly, seriously committed in love. And, that she was fully free to despite the seeming absurdity of a 15-year-old asserting her rights to do this, and was in no way coerced, forced, pressured, mentally abused, physically abused, sexually abused. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you were to legitimately fall in love with someone and run away and get married and, go on to establish a life.
I see where they're going with this. Thank you, Connell. And yes,
Okay.
I have some of these things on flash drive. Not flash drive, but flash link. All right, 1481 is the voluntary shall lose his nationality by voluntarily performing any of the following acts with the intent to relinquish U.S. nationality. Obtain nationality in a foreign state upon his own application or upon the application filed by the duly authority agent after having attained the age of 18 or taking the oath and making an affirmation and not a formal declaration of alliance to the former state. And politically subdivided. You have to meet those two standards. Entered and served in an armed force of a foreign state.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they're catching them at.
Yes. Did you pick up a gun and become part of their military action.
Yes. So,
And what they're arguing would also be that if you're just taking care of war criminals and providing whatever degree of humanitarian aid to them you are allowed, it may be, here's your rotten food that we're going to give you once a week, but you're not intentionally poisoning food and handing it to them with the intent of killing them. Like, you're not part of the military action. You're part of the humanitarian action to whatever extent is available.
But if you're acting as which are they, the guard or the caretaker? You are acting as the guard to the women.
Were they acting as the guard though? Like, it says they fed them. I mean, I would think to some degree you're going to end up a guard, but not necessarily to the extent we would normally think of a prison guard, are you?
Yeah. I mean, if you're feeding them and housing them and clothing them and, keeping them there, you're acting as a guard.
Well, but then again, you have to beg the question, or it begs the question, to what extent are you a guard? If they were to break free, are you going to be released to chase after them, drag them back, beat them, or whatever to punish them? And are you doing that of your own free will? Or are you doing that at the coercion? Because if you don't do this, worse is going to happen to you.
Right. But, that's the two, but that's still acting as a agent of the foreign army.
See, I would argue that's not. If you, okay, let's put it in a different situation. If you were to be in the middle of war, you are taken prisoner in that war, you are a prisoner yourself of that country, and you have earned through that somehow some modicum of trust,
right?
Or just the fact that they like fucking with you,
right?
The role of caretaker, of a trustee, let's call it trustee,
right?
And you are in a situation where other prisoners are coming in, and you are responsible for their care, maintenance, feeding, and locking the door behind them. And if they get out, that if you don't go after them and you don't bring them back, you're going to get beaten to death and or killed.
Right.
Just shot on the spot. If that's the consequences, are you making a free will choice to voluntarily support the country, to support the military, or are you still a prisoner,
right,
acting as a guard in a hilarious kangaroo situation?
Right, but at the same time, if you've made verbal statements, written statements, or documented statements that you are no longer a citizen of such country, and you are acting in a military capacity, i.e. fighting on the battlefield against the United States as a now former United States citizen, you lose your citizenship. And that's where they are getting them at.
Okay. Well, and Brenda brings up, if Aeson kidnaps someone and you, Joe, feed and don't allow them to leave or contact anyone, you also don't notify authorities. Are you guilty also? And that's where I argue, because we've seen this in child abduction cases, in which that child abductor, spends time with the first victim and then brings in a second victim that the first victim then goes on to, not because this is what they're into, but because of the child abductor, goes on to effectively, on their orders, victimize the second victim, to beat them, abuse them, whatever, because they're under their own threat. Generally, in those cases, we don't side with the idea that that first victim was inherently acting under free will. They were a prisoner and a victim too. All the things they were effectively forced
Right.
to do to the second victim all goes back on the abductor, not victim one.
Right, but if victim one is given the police walk into the abductor's home, okay, and says, we've got you and we can take you too, and victim one says, no, I'm here by my own volition. I choose to be here. I am not a victim in this. And then while they've got the kidnapper, or in this situation, me in jail, you go and contact victim 3. Who's guilty?
Again, I think we could argue this one all night. And there's no easy answers. And I think it is very much, Brenda says, okay, that backfired on me.
No.
Sorry.
No, Brenda, I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with this specific case that the British Homeland Security made the right choice. Okay.
Among horrible choices to choose from.
Under the choices she left for them
to
do. They could not kidnap her at 15 to bring her back and force her to live at her parents' home or in whatever sanctuary.
And moreover, without starting an international incident with Syria and just an international incident in and of itself, and a propaganda PR nightmare, you abducted a Syrian woman, because that's what the headline would be. UK government abducts Syrian citizen.
Right.
PR international relations nightmare.
Exactly. Okay. They left. He was left with. They were made to leave it with where it was at. Unfortunately, at that time. Now, the only choice is to turn her to not give her citizenship back. Because that citizenship that she reneged and denounced, she now wants back. You can't get back with an ex after a divorce and a domestic abuse has occurred.
Well, you can. It's not recommended.
Not
it's a bad idea.
Abuser.
Do what now?
Not when you're the abuser.
Well, I mean, some people go back.
Yeah.
But no, I get your point. It's like, if that's the only choice you've got, one need recognize you have horrible choices to make. And there's got to be something better.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get you. I was just saying, no, there are people who inexplicably go back to abusive exes.
Yeah, but this is actually 1481 is very interesting in how it's enacted, and it wasn't enacted till 1961. And I'm trying to think of what was going on for them to enact this.
That sounds like Vietnam.
I expect it to be in 46 or 40.
Yeah, no, that sounds like Vietnam era.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Would have had to have been Vietnam.
Yeah. They do back then. They call Aeson for a reading. Thank you for the plug, Brenda. We love it.
Okay, thanks for the plug, Brenda. But at the same time, I'm reading over this brief, and I will download this if the baristas in the room are interested in reading this brief from. Where is this from? It's citing a lot of different pieces, but no, apparently there are 550 of these women that are trying to re-enter. So, But if baristas are interested in reading legal briefs, that yeah, I find it interesting to do. But if you are, let me know, and I will upload it to the barista members area. All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, we will find out who's the asshole this week.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TRACYVANN.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, Techie Joe here. I work with Aeson Knight, some of the best psychics in West Virginia, to create amazing live streams and podcasts for the Psychic Coffee Shop Network. Together, we brew up great content discussing news, events, hot topics, and more, all from a psychic perspective. On the Psychic Coffee Shop, we interview amazing authors in the metaphysical realm. Coffee and Tea combines Aeson with Tracy, Dottie, Natalie, or Lady Gwendolyn for the good and the bad of being a psychic. Shameless Self-Promotion with Dottie the Psychic talks to leading and emerging YouTubers and business owners in our community. Mountain Bears brings you the latest in LGBT news and politics. The Psychic That Plans answers the question of, well, how a psychic plans. Plus, we're live on air. We take your comments and your questions, including psychic advice questions. Check out our amazing programming, book an appointment with top psychics, and find out all the wonderful things we have to offer at PCSBnetwork.com today.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. Great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. All right, welcome back. All right, so we'll start. And baristas, it is now up in the barista Patreon if you want to read that. The Right to Return. It covers international law. It's very complicated, but very interesting to be forethought of this. All right, are you an asshole for telling your in-laws you want nothing to do with being parents to your nieces?
Yeah.
Or be your case.
All right. I, 21 female, have been married to my husband for 6 months. We've been together since we were 15. My husband had a drug addict older sister, 26, who has 2 daughters of her own, ages 9 and 6. We've only met the girls a few times. No one knows who the fathers are. My husband's sister passed away 3 weeks ago, and the girls are currently staying in a foster home. My mother-in-law was pressuring for us to take them. You see, we really could and have the financials and space, but I just do not desire children. Neither does my husband. I feel as though I do not have the sensitivity to be a mother, and it wouldn't be great for us nor the children. I tried explaining this to mother-in-law, but mother-in-law says you do for family, and that she would take them if it wasn't for father-in-law's failing health. I basically shut it down, and she kept on going how they would spend their lives in the system and how we have good potential to be great parents. I finally cut her off and said we want nothing to do with being parents to our nieces. Mother-in-law got upset, hung up the phone, and hasn't talked to me since. She keeps sending my husband articles, though, on statistics of children in foster care and telling him we could have prevented this. My husband and I have talked about it, but we just honestly don't want to. We don't have the time, and we're simply not parent material. They'd have a better life in foster care. Am I the asshole?
No. Sorry, in my opinion, no. You're not the asshole. You didn't have the children. And I am normally one that's like, take them in, raise them. You got to understand, I got a Papa Bill mentality. Up until recently, we have decided no. But no, I don't think.
For a while there, he ran Aeson's Home for Wayward Souls.
Mm-hmm. That is now closed. It has no vacancies. We are also seeking exorcisms, but that's a different thing.
We have a crappy couch. You can crash on it for 2 nights, and then your butt's out of here. That's where we're at. But anyway, continue.
But anyway, you lead with this one because you actually commented on this one.
Do I know?
Didn't you comment on this one?
Yeah, I commented on this one.
Okay.
So what I had to say was, not the asshole. You have every right to not have parenthood forced on you. I think your outburst about the system has everything to do with mother-in-law's relentless badgering and attempting to force you to take on nieces, on your nieces.
Right.
They may find a great home eventually, and hopefully not experience the worst of the worst on the way there. But you knew that before you said it, I'd guess. And frankly, you're arguing with a terrorist who isn't giving you any way to respectfully retreat from meeting their demands.
Right.
I'd personally be glad that she isn't talking to you at the moment, as I'm sure you'd be inundated with her pleas to take the kids.
Right.
The sad reality is, it's a bad situation to which there are not a lot of amazing fairy tale endings. And none of that makes it your fault or your responsibility.
Right.
Mother-in-law can't deal with it right now, but her child chose drugs, chose actions that led to pregnancy, presumably not using birth control, and has had kids at a point in her life that is impossible for her to raise, and the system is the only place for them to go without willing family to take them.
Right.
In short, it's her daughter's fault.
Right.
Plain and simple. But your mother-in-law really can't accept that she raised someone who would do this in either child.
Right.
One who had them and shouldn't have, and one child that could take them but doesn't want to and shouldn't have to. I feel for all of you, it's a terrible spot for every single one of you to be in.
Right. I am at this point in my life, and the reason that, and the poll is up if you want to vote. The reason I say this was recently I asked Joe, when do I get to say no? I don't want to, I don't need to, I don't care to, I'm not interested, I don't have time to. When do I get to say no? They have decided not to have children, which is well within their rights. They have decided that they have the room, but they really don't have the room. So I'm sure, it's like us. Yes, we can combine offices. Joe could become very uncomfortable. I would be up, we'd have to, we fit 1 to 2 other people into this house for a period of time.
Yeah.
But it's not our choice.
Well, it was our choice.
We
chose the discomfort.
We chose
You have, before that, chosen the discomfort.
Right. They've chosen not to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The more important and bigger problem I have here is the mother-in-law's point of view of their family. You do whatever for family. No, you don't. You do what's best for you, and you aid family as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't change your life, take on responsibility and another soul's when you are not equipped to do so.
You know, put on the mask for yourself before you help someone else with theirs.
Exactly. So with that, and added on to that, why are they not the asshole? They're not the asshole because they're not taking the children in for the financial benefit that would come for them to be another set of paychecks. There's 2 of them. Apparently, doing some math and doing some research, that's about $1,200 a month into their household. So they're not taking them for paychecks. They've chosen not to take them in for family glory, which never occurs.
Mm-hmm.
They've chose to take them in not to please the mother-in-law, which is a good thing, because once you please them once, and once you let them take over and do a barrier once, they will destruct the household. And it will become their household, not your household.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Also, there becomes this level of resentment. And children shouldn't have to have that resentment of, I had to take you in because your mother was a fucking drug addicted whore. Thrown in their faces every time she or her husband is pushed to the limit of not only their boundaries, but their sanity because of their boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I just kind of live with the theory. It's hard enough to be a parent. You're going to say some pretty shitty things to your kid at some point. I think every parent does.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, do y'all remember Survivor by Reba?
Right.
Way back when, the music video, and there's that one moment where she looks at the kid and says, I don't need any more mistakes in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gut-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing that because I was a kid myself when I saw that. And I was just like, that is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it on her face, granted, this is all acted, and I'm sure it's been a situation that's occurred in people's lives,
right,
in which you, in a moment, say something that is so effing horrible, you don't mean it, you shouldn't have said it, it's absolutely horrible, I'm gonna burn for that one, kind of statement to your kid. And I think every parent has a moment where if they don't say it, it was close.
Right.
It was really effing close. And if they do say it, I'm sure that's a moment that they will forever haunts them. It just haunts them. How could I ever have said such a thing? Or you have that moment as a parent where you hit your child.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you're an abusive monster and a horrible person who enjoys, taking out your pain and aggression on your children, but in one moment they said the one thing that just, the situation had escalated too far. You needed to get out. You tried to get out. You couldn't get out. And then the child just went one step further.
Mm-hmm.
And not because you're a horrible person did you hit them, but you hit them because you had nothing else.
Right.
Shut the F up.
Or you just fucking lied.
You know what I mean? Basically, it's a moment of passion and anger.
Right.
Not because you're a horrible person, but because this situation has escalated beyond anything that most people can handle rationally.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not part of who you are. It's a part of something you did that you should not have done, and you understand it instantly.
Right.
I effed up. I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Not as a continual event. If you do it more than once, you are a monster, no matter what you think. You do it one time, you fucked up. You really fucked up, and you should have done that. Learn and grow. Yeah, so Brenda says, I have friends who grew up with horrible statements. No child needs those invisible wounds and scars. No, they don't. But I think we all get them to, like, I don't think you can survive your teenage years.
Right.
I don't care who you are, how good you are. You cannot survive your teenage years without pushing your parents to at least one time.
Right.
One time. Say something that in a moment.
Right.
They instantly regretted and went, oh, God.
Right.
Why? Why did I open my mouth and say that? Why did I say that?
Right.
And it'll haunt them for the rest of their lives. And I think that's every generation, every parent, every child goes through at least one of those statements.
Right.
Now,
but
horrible
the other thing here is, the other thing that's very well put and very well laid out is the mother-in-law is stepping and trying to push everything on and is in a caregiver situation, but is trying to push them into being in the same situation.
Mm-hmm. And I think being a caregiver may also be, and this could be generational as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's this odd dynamic.
Right.
That existed.
Mm-hmm.
It has existed for many years, and it's part of the ugly side of caregiving,
mm-hmm.
in which you're the de facto caregiver.
Right.
And it's usually women. It's almost always women.
Mm-hmm. Or gay men.
Always. Or gay men, or, in the occasional weird situation, it's a husband.
Right.
You're the de facto caregiver. You're fucking married to him. You're fucking there.
Right.
You're fucking married to him. You're fucking there.
Right.
And so, and it's not just spouses. It's also, women who have children that are unfortunately in a health condition that they will never be independent.
Right.
Or they have been injured and become totally dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Or have conditions that effectively make them totally dependent upon someone else for their care. And no one ever says at any point,
mm-hmm.
do you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you capable of doing this?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to help you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want no part of this?
Right.
Nameless, blameless, and shameless.
Right.
Honest to God, do you want any part of this? Instead, they are culturally, they are familially
mm-hmm.
into it.
Right.
Like they bear this guilt and shame
mm-hmm.
that if they reject their husband, if they reject their child, if they reject their parent,
mm-hmm.
they are horrible, monstrous people
mm-hmm.
who do not love their family members. No, I'm sorry. You can love someone and put them in a nursing home. Those aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
Those are not mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
You can recognize I do not have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have the physical ability, strength, and stamina.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have what it takes
mm-hmm.
to be someone else's caregiver. I don't want to do it.
Well, and you missed one there. I do not have the mental fortitude to do it.
Right. Or you just, that's not who you are as a human being. I will say as a caregiver, and we've talked about this before, and I've shared this with at least one of my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I, in the process of
mm-hmm.
caring for my grandmother, went through this weird period where I had a lot of rage.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of started in this place of, well, why can't, this person in my family just do this?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't, why is it, and really the wellspring was, why is it me?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time of sitting with that rage and that anger
mm-hmm.
to finally have the realization that as much as I keep telling myself I didn't have a choice,
mm-hmm.
I very much had one.
Right.
And that they had one as well, and they chose not to.
Right.
And for whatever reason, they didn't want that in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to be part of this situation. They could not relocate their life to do this. They whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Their health was failing, name it.
Right.
To different people that could all apply.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were at a point in their career that they can't take this on right now. It would destroy them.
Right.
Like career-wise. All of that could apply.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to process through. I had a choice. It was at the end of a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Because legally, all I had to do
Mm-hmm.
was contact authorities at any point and
Mm-hmm.
say, I am a caregiver for an incapable adult.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready to leave. Please send help and assistance for this incapable adult because I can't do it
Right.
anymore. I'm done. I'm out. I'm gone.
Right.
Like, I'm hanging up this phone. I'm stepping out the front door. I will meet them there. I will stay here until someone gets here.
Mm-hmm.
I will gladly give you a list of contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Do with that as you can.
Right.
But I'm out.
Right. And that's but recognizing it before you get into that situation.
Yeah, that's the dirty, ugly part of it.
Yeah, that's high thinking. So, in my opinion, not the asshole. High level, not the asshole.
Yeah, totally not the asshole. I think this is really part of a conversation we need to be having about all levels of caregiving, whether it's parent-child, foster care, adult caregiving, spousal caregiving, parent-child after adulthood caregiving, that we need to legitimize, I don't want to do this, and
Right.
I don't have to.
Right.
And make that not a shame, blame, and wear it with guilt. To say that before you hit a point in which you are resentful, angry, and used up, burnout, wore out.
Right.
Like, I really think a lot of healing can start right there.
Right. Very much so. All right. So the poll is up on the Aeson Knight YouTube. Feel free to vote. Asshole or no asshole. And let's move on to relationship advice.
All right. Overthinking, female 23, that my friends haven't posted me on socials, female 23. I know this may sound strange, but for me, like, I don't fit in with any one group. I'm sort of floating between all different ones. I was on Instagram and there's this February dump thing, which just means you post pictures of your month. And my friend who I went out with posted her other friends and not me, but she did upload me onto her page. My other friend posted her group of friends, and I thought, hey, maybe it's because we didn't take any pictures that month. Then my work friend only posted certain people from work, and she didn't post me when I've been close with her. I don't understand why. It's like I'm always the outsider. Is this just my self-esteem flaring up? Am I reading too deeply into this? I take everything online personal, and I get jealous when my friends post friends and not me.
Okay. So this causes a lot of strain. This is actually going to be Aeson's article this month. It'll be disseminated out through the web of Aeson Knight. Online has changed a lot of things, but there's still multi-generational things. Now, in this situation, I don't think that you look so horrible they don't post you online. I think you may be looking better, so they're not going to post competition of you online if your friends are hunting or dating.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not where I thought that would go at all.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. Dating profile.
Yeah.
Which is what Instagram is being used for a lot here lately, is a dating resume. Do you want the better looking friend? setting on your profile.
I can understand that is sometimes, well, but sometimes you have the really hot friend as bait.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you're a wingman and you just go home with whomever doesn't survive the first round pick of the hot friend.
Right.
I think that's a thing.
Right.
But no, that wasn't even where I was going with that mentally. Like, that wasn't where I was at all.
Okay. Where were you at all?
Where I was at with it is an experience I've actually had is always the friend, never the bestie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a legitimate thing that happens.
Right.
Is that sometimes, like, you're a friend, they like you, they enjoy your company, they are really cool to hang out with you, they don't have any problems with you, but you're just not the bestie. You're just not someone's bestie.
Right.
And as much as that can be weird, especially if you invest a lot into your like friendships,
Mm-hmm.
and like you find yourself having a Marsha moment,
Right.
where it's like, why am I no one's best friend? Why does no one think of me in best friend terms?
Right.
Like, why am I always just a friend? You know, kind of in that always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of mentality. Why is it always me in this supporting role, but not even like best actor or actress in that supporting role? I'm just an extra. Like, again, I'm not a bad actor or actress. I'm not a horrible person. They don't dislike me.
Right.
And they may even love me as a friend. But you're not my bestie. Like, I'm not gonna, like, at best, you're the person they call when they and their best friend get arrested at 4 a.m. and need someone to come bail their ass out.
Right.
You're not going to be the one they get arrested with.
Right. And I can see that point, but I think that the point, and especially looking at the age group, this is more so, no, you probably look good, better than they do. No, you probably are in a better position or more attractive than they do. And that's why you're not being posted. You also probably have trouble out of their mates or the people they're dating. So you get kind of put into the back burner and not hung out with when they're dating someone they don't trust.
Fair. Well, either that or you're a horrible person in general and, like, they're afraid of you. Like, that's alternative too, is I think everyone has that friend that it's like, yeah, we're friends, but I ain't leaving them around my spouse. Like, that gonna end up in a baby mama drama situation because she a hoe. You know, I've known people like that. I've had friends like that it's like, yeah, I think the world of them, but I ain't leaving them alone with whoever I'm dating. Like, I know how that's gonna end.
Right.
You know, like, there's zero chance that they're not gonna hook up or try. And usually it's for respect of who I'm dating, not necessarily because I care if they hook up. But if I'm like, I've been with someone that like, like that's going to be a really awkward situation. They're not going to appreciate that. Like, you can't hang out with this one friend alone. That's, I can tell you how that's going to end. Like, it's going to end with some inappropriate touching that you're going to freak out about.
Right.
Like, no. Yeah, she's the great mingler.
Right.
Brenda says, plus she says she's not part of any one group. She's just the socialite.
Right.
She floats among everyone.
Right.
And again, part of that is you have a quality skill there. You know, you're not stuck in a clique. You're not stuck in a group. You're not a sheeple. You know, you're not running with the jocks. You're not running with the band. You're not running with the, you know, cheerleaders. You're not running with the, you know, troublemakers. You're not running with the potheads.
Right.
You know what I mean? To go back to high school.
Right.
But you're just kind of there.
Right.
like you have friends in all the social groups. You're kind of in and out, commingled.
Mhm.
You're not like locked into this community like emo kids.
Right.
That's usually really locked in. Like you're either an emo kid or you're just like, yeah, we know you and thanks for not like pushing our head in the toilet.
Right.
You know, like that's what I know generally of emo kids. Like I've been in that position where it's like, yeah, I have friends all over the place.
Right.
I don't have a problem with any of them.
Right. And see, I'm the reverse of this.
You were a total band geek, weren't you?
No, I was trying to little dance and drama geek.
Okay, fair enough.
But at the other side of that, I'm very selective on who qualifies as friends.
Mm-hmm.
Very selective in my group. I have associates and I have friends. Associates are like nice and friendly, but they're not friends. They're not getting a call at 2:00 in the morning because I'm bored.
Right.
And that is different than this age where we look at social media and you have 387 friends.
Well, because that's the terminology that Facebook uses.
But we've got that concept that has changed the way we think of friends.
Mm-hmm. And it has severely changed that idea.
Right.
Like I had a boss that got mad because I didn't add him at one point as a friend on Facebook.
Right.
And I flat said, I'm sorry, you're not my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You're my boss.
Right.
Like I don't know how to put that doesn't sound offensive to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not hanging out with you 8 hours a day because we're besties.
Exactly.
We spend 8 hours a day together because you fundamentally perform the actions that cause me to get a paycheck.
Granted, that was just signing his name, not like he done the work. But anyhow, my point being is, I don't think this generation of 17 to, I don't know, Facebook is what, 2005?
Yeah.
So 17 to 23, 17 to 48, 35, because they start getting a little twitchy at 35, understands familiars, associates, friends, best friend.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you're in the South, you have a bestest friend.
Right.
Or a ride or die bitch, depending upon where you are in the world.
Well, that, and then depending on where in that Gen X you become.
Basically.
Okay. So when you have all of that, this generation's relationship ideas and classifications become very different. And she's going to have to learn that most of her friends probably have one or two things. One, they see her as better looking, so they don't want her on their profile.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, she's dealing with a different crowd that views friendships differently.
I think there's maybe a third, though, to also include there as a just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're everyone's frenemy.
Right.
Like, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
Uh-huh.
Everyone loves you because they're scared as hell of you.
Right.
That can be a thing. Oh, so Brenda says, I have friends, but only a handful of people I truly think of as friends.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are just people I know and am friendly with. I'll also say that the 21st century process of being a business,
mm-hmm.
of being a brand,
mm-hmm.
because we've all had to kind of move forward with this idea that we have an identity
mm-hmm.
and we have a personal brand.
Right.
Has caused us to also blur the line,
mm-hmm.
both in how we interact with people and how we present ourselves to them.
Right.
In addition to how we perceive the people that we interact with, like especially in professional capacities,
Right.
in which it really does start to become, like I could totally see your clients,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with being your client.
Right.
Also being like, oh, this is my friend Aeson, and he does psychic readings, and I've been seeing him for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've had at least one client, if not tons, say that sentence.
Right, and they
I love him,
do,
he's fat.
and that's perfectly fine. But I'm not calling my clients at 2:00 in the morning unless you booked an appointment. And yes, you can do that while I'm on Vampirial scheduling.
Yes.
So again, and that's why I really think Facebook, and even before then MySpace, really fucked up the term friends.
Yeah.
And they continue to fuck up relationships, because here's what I see happen often, and I do it myself. I'm flipping through Facebook, and my baristas know this. I'll flip through Facebook and I'll see something funny, and I'll take and share it in the barista group, because if you're a barista, you get access to shit that makes Aeson laugh. The other side of that is I will go through on Instagram and I'll be liking stuff and not even know I'm liking it. Why? Because of where I rub on the screen, it likes it.
Oh my God. Don't tell people you're just arbitrarily liking stuff because you just can't choose
TikTok's the worst of it. They like TikTok. I'm running through there, and it's not a like choice. I hold my phone. Where's my phone? Well, I'll use the bigger device. I'll hold my tablet like this, and I'm scrolling with my thumb. Guess what's right here?
The like button, the love button, the whatever button.
The whatever button. Social media companies know this.
True. But yeah, Shannon says, we also put things up that make him laugh. LOL.
Yes.
True.
There are things that y'all put up, and I need this on a shirt. Speaking of which, let's wrap this up. I will go get the poll results and a link for you. You have an announcement to make.
Oh, I have an announcement?
Yes.
Ooh, I get an announcement?
Yes, you do it. You have an announcement to make. It's not linked to the website yet.
Ooh, yeah, that announcement.
Yeah.
Brenda says, that stupid thumb on Messenger.
And I've changed it in a lot of my personal messages. I'm going to start changing it in people I talk to often to something other than a damn thumb.
Meanwhile, can I just say, has anyone else had am I alone? Have you ever been trying to scroll and had the pop-up come up to react to a comment and inadvertently laughed, hearted, inappropriate reaction to the message, and then had to apologize profusely and went, oh my God, I fat fingered.
No, I learned how to remove it.
Well, yeah, I quickly remove it, but there was a point in which that wasn't clearly apparent when they first started doing this. And I think the first time I did it is I laughed at something in which that was a totally inappropriate reaction to the statement that was made. It was like,
yeah.
No!
Yeah, which my favorite emoji is the fire one right now.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I have it set to, if you get fire from me, it's because I think I like it. But anyhow.
You made an actual effort to choose a different emoji than the basic defaults. And choose something. Yeah. But no, I've done that. I've done it multiple times and just apologize profusely to people because that is not an intentional reaction to what they said. I didn't just suddenly have someone might think I'm a really callous, horrible human being for that. Maybe I should remove that. No, I'm legitimately
that reputation. Because hell, you got to put up with this bitch.
What?
I said you got to put up with this bitch. You should already have that reputation by now.
God. Yeah, oh, Shannon's doing a lovely example. Yes, this is like the kind of thing that happens to me. Is someone would message me something really serious and sad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad died.
Mm-hmm.
Also me. Ha ha. No. Why, universe? Why, Facebook? Why? Why did you make that possible? Because my thumb hits right there on the laughy one.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. If my finger bounces, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna hit the laugh. Or I love something inappropriately.
Right. Right.
But yes. Hi. All right. Here we go. So I got a link coming my way.
The link is already ready to be shot.
Awesome. Guys, are you excited? You should be excited. Our first merch is about to drop right now. There you guys go. Oh, Brenda said no. Joe is the sweet, cuddly teddy bear that apparently has a twitch that will inadvertently make me sound like the most horrible human being on the planet.
That's just because you're married to me. But anyhow.
You're the one that caused the twitch.
Yes.
No, that started way before him, like, because Facebook added that shit, like, I don't know, 3-4 years before we even met each other.
Uh-huh.
Like, I did. And I think if I remember correctly, the first time I did it to my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really inappropriate.
Right.
So, yes, there's our first thing in merch. It is past, present, future stressed. This is actually born of a conversation with Dottie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know, like, inception point of past, present, future, live, stressed, but it's fine.
Yeah. And
that was like, Dottie literally messaged me and was like, how are you? And that was my response. And she said, you know, if we did that as merch, we'd never have to work again.
Yep. Teresa,
you know, Devin?
Discount? I believe you will be getting a discount. We've got to get in there and do that. But yes, Devin, we're on top of it.
We can discount you guys.
Yes.
We just wanted to get everything up so you guys could see it and hopefully have interest in it. Because that's what we're starting with. The mug.
Yep.
Actually, everything has the logo. The sticker has the logo. The mug has the logo in big on the back of the mug. And then it is smaller on the hoodie and the t-shirt. It's not a humongous logo.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brenda was already like, I wondered where that came from. It's like, honey, I was having a day. I was having just
and more merch will be coming. This is just the first one out the bat. We also have do I need to get the Truth 2x4?
Oh, thank you, Devin. Devin is proud of us, guys.
Yeah.
And this is awesome. Absolutely. Oh, Shannon's already looking for yours. Your quintessential, your mwah.
Yep.
Chef's kiss to the universe of burn his shit.
Yep. What we're going to do is we have taglines and stuff that is, and that one I want in a crystal ball. But each month Joe will be dropping a new tagline design.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we look forward to getting up just PCSP merch. If you're looking for just PCSP, we look to get that up very soon.
Yes.
And yes, we'll
sure just Mountain Bear
merch. There's a TikTok guy that calls it an emotional support 2x4.
One of these days, I will get up in the attic. There is a 2x4. And when I first got into the business.
Shannon called it. Get your crutch goblins before they are fed to the dragon. Love that. Oh, love it.
Yeah, but I think Burn His Shit and I Forgot My Jaded Glasses Today are the next two to go up.
You know what, Devin? I think we could do that. How about Sage That Shit?
Okay. We'll have to check copyright, but I like that. But baristas in your Patreon, there's a link there. In that link, if you want specific things or you've heard me say for certain cash lines and you think it would be great merch, comment down in it. And we will see what we can do with that. But no, I kind of want one, but I've got to figure out part of it, and I'm going to work that out later and talk with Joe. It's going to be probably our drop for September.
Okay. Wow, that's out there.
Well, it's a complicated concept, so
Alrighty. So yes, merch, guys. We'll get you the baristas. We'll get you a discount code here very shortly, and then we look forward to you guys telling us how awesome the merch is in your life.
Right.
And we will definitely want to see pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta send us pictures. Like if you get the sticker and you put it on your laptop, I want to see you out and about with the sticker on your laptop.
Yes, very much so. We'd love to see where you're at. So we would love to see all that. This is an adventure. This is something we've been working 2 years on. We wanted to go with a reputable dealer. We wanted to go with reputable situations. We also was in size. This is a bit, if you're going to do merch, you need to be looking at sizes. And these go.
And finding a vendor that offers 5XL t-shirts is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, and 4XL hoodies. Those were important things for, especially Mountain Bear fans. We know you don't come in toothpick because Bear comes with it. So
exactly.
That's been the important thing.
I get really tired of people, who else hates going to events and the free t-shirt you get with the event is a large or a medium
for a Bear event.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's even worse. I really, hate large events that are hi, this is oriented to a larger person crowd. And I don't know who put the dumb twink in charge of it because I'm calling them dumb. Not just because they're a twink, but because apparently they didn't think it through.
Right.
It's a Bear event.
Right.
And you have large and medium shirts and nothing above that. We didn't think you would need a shirt in a 2XL. Where are you at? Are you in there? Jeannie Robertson moment. You want to take a young person's face lovingly in your hands and go, are you in there?
No, they're not.
No,
all right, guys, this has been a really long show. We really enjoy you hanging with us. Now, the people that really inspire us, keep us moving, and support us, let's talk about them.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, and how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, which will now include a discount on our merch, please visit pcspnetwork.com.
So, baristas, you may get a note from Patreon that your tier is changing, as in your benefits are changing. That's because we need to update them. Gallery readings and other things have been added. So all that will be getting in boxes, and they always love to fill your email box with that. Just be aware that we're not changing prices.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Or downgrading things. If anything,
we've got to be the only thing that isn't going through inflation, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So with that, guys, have a wonderful night. I will see you Thursday night. New shows will be going popped up within the next 2 days. And it is on Joe's to-do list to build a Where's Aeson page on aesonknight.com that will list everything Aeson's involved. That is on his to-do list, and that is his goal for this month, to get everybody that wants to follow me on all of the things. But normally, if you type in Aeson Knight, you'll be able to find me there, because that's the only name I use on anything.
Well, work related.
Well, work. Yeah.
You have other identities.
Yeah, but they're variations of the same name, so they're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So replay crew, let us know what you think of merch and what you would like to see, and we will see you on. Take it away. What you doing next?
See you on Thursday with Coffee and Tea at 8 p.m. Then Friday, I'll be over at Modern Spirituals. You guys have to hop over there. And I'll be talking with someone, and we'll be having an in-depth conversation. It's either an author or a reader or spiritual leader in the world. And then, of course, we're back Friday night at 8 p.m. in the coffee shop with Mountain Bears. We've already got a twofer for you.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Which is the first time we've had a twofer for Are You the Asshole and Poly Relationship Advice.
I know. These are good ones.
Mm-hmm.
We look forward to them.
Yeah. All right, guys. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
You can't tell me the deck is stacked. You can't whisper behind my back. You can't show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop.